Hello, everybody. Welcome back to another episode of Story Shutro, where we are ready to tell you another exciting story. And in the meantime, if you have not yet subscribed to Story Shutro, now is the time to do that. Please click the subscribe button and also the bell icon to receive all notifications directly to you. Today's story, The Red Knight, was written by me a few years ago, and it had the honor of being published on an online story platform. The Red Knight is a tale of dilemma, of political ideologies crossing paths with deep friendships in a razor-edge scenario. So let's begin The Red Knight. I think it is time that I should write down an account of everything I have seen, heard, and experienced today. The candle is also burning out fast. Maybe it will last for another half an hour or an hour at the most. The rain outside shows no signs of stopping. Marcus should be here any moment now. If I am unable to return, hopefully this note would reach Rishi in the least. He must know that I finally found Marcus. Yes. But let me start from the beginning. Kalapahadi is not new to me. Neither are the expansive forests in these parts of Palamur. Albeit, I have set foot here after a very long time, and had it not been for Marcus, I may never have come back here. Marcus Behra, my friend from my days in the junior school in Daltonganj, where I had spent a few years of my early growing up time. They were converted Christians who had relocated from Orissa some years ago, or so Marcus used to say about his family history. And then Rishi joined our class, and almost instantly we formed a closely knit brotherhood amongst us. Last year, when I had returned to Calcutta with my new job as a senior reporter with one of the leading dailies in Eastern India, it was truly a homecoming of sorts. Since then, I had been on the search for Marcus. Last time we had met was when he had completed his studies in medicine and, having attained his degree, had joined as a doctor with a general hospital in Calcutta. It was during a visit to the Government General Hospital in Howrah some months ago that I chanced upon his name. I had accidentally overheard a conversation between a patient and his visitor. The repeated mention of Dr. Behra caught my attention, and upon inquiring, I learned that they were indeed speaking about my friend Marcus. The visitor Banshi seemed to know him quite closely. Though Banshi initially appeared to be quite reluctant and hesitant in sharing information about Marcus, over time he soon became our messenger, and on some of his visits to Calcutta, he would meet me and even have a brief letter for me from Marcus. Like this, last month, I received an invitation from Marcus in his brief note to visit him in Daltonganj. Banshi also handed me the train tickets to reach, and Marcus made arrangements for me to be received by one of his group members at the station, and also for my stay at a lodge near the Daltonganj railway station. So as scheduled, day before yesterday, my train pulled into Daltonganj station about an hour past its appointed time of arrival in the dead of the night. As I walked out of the station and looked around, I could not see anyone who seemed to be waiting for me. Suddenly, I felt a light tap on my shoulder. I turned around to see a middle-aged man peering at me closely from within his red checked headscarf. which was wrapped around his head and face. He adjusted the scarf to reveal his bearded face when I said my name. His face was pockmarked, and his eyes were deep set. He took me hurriedly to a waiting auto rickshaw and ushered me in the back seat, while he himself perched on the side of the driver's seat. We soon reached a locality with small lanes crisscrossing all over, and each lane lined with houses, mostly of the same type. He took me inside one of them and hurriedly up the stairs and opened the lock to a room on the first floor. As I stepped inside, I was pleasantly surprised to feel the freshness of the room. It seemed that the room had been cleaned just the evening before, and the place had been done up neatly. "Dr. Behra will be here by early morning to meet you," the man said in a gruff voice, and before I could even respond, he hurriedly went down the stairs and disappeared into the darkness. Today's daybreak was eventful indeed, as I met Marcus after what seemed ages. He had not changed much, except for a few strands of grey in his hair and beard, and his build appearing stouter. He was dressed in a plain shirt and trousers, as we used to see him in during his study days in Calcutta. We were truly delighted to see each other after such a long time, and we hugged tightly. As the morning rolled on, we engaged deeply in conversation, sometimes going back to our school days and talking of the happy memories of our childhood, and sometimes discussing the development which Daltonganj had seen over the years. As we finished our breakfast and sipped on masala chai, I decided to ask Marcus about his work and what kept him so deep-rooted to the forests of Palamur. Marcus sat up from his half-reclining position on the bed and after a pause started to speak. "As I've told you, I work with an organization which looks after the welfare of the local tribal communities in the forests of Palamur," Marcus said. "I know, Marcus, but..." I hesitated for a minute and spoke out. "From whatever I've gathered from my interactions with Banshi, yours does not seem to be simple NGO work. There is something more to it, something larger, which y'all are keeping away." Marcus looked hard at me for some time, and I saw his expressions undergo a slight change. "I know what you may be thinking," Marcus spoke slowly, "and you're right. This is not simple NGO work. We fight for the tribals, the villagers, and everyone who lives on the fringes of society here. And since the system has chosen to ignore them and keep them downtrodden, someone has to stand up for them and get them their rights and justice." Marcus stopped. I continued to look at him in the eye. My foreboding seemed to be coming true. The system with their machinery wants to push us down. They want to obliterate our revolution with their forces, but they will not succeed. Marcus continued to speak agitatedly. I understood that I had unknowingly touched a chord of deep passion and grief in his heart, something that he lived for now. "But Marcus, this is dangerous. Fighting against the system in this way may not be the proper path to adopt," I replied, almost at a loss of words at Marcus's sudden burst of passion. "No, we must push the system back. The government must realize our problems, our pain, and also our rights, and correct its measures and policies. Until then, we will fight. Do not think we are alone. We have many supporters and sympathizers to our cause. Even people from the urban cities where you all live support us through donations and other means. We need money, lots of it, to buy ammunition, supplies, to run the revolution for ourselves and for those whom we protect. These donations help us in a great way. This is a movement which will rise like a phoenix, and no system force can extinguish the fiery oath of the Red Salute. I continued to look at Marcus as he paced about in the room in front of me, speaking with such grit and passion. I knew he was mentally too deep-rooted and convinced in his path by now. A chill went down my spine as I recollected Banshi's visits to Calcutta. The purpose was coming clear now. Marcus caught my confused expression and continued, "You don't seem to understand, brother. This is the way." He came close and put his hands on my shoulders, and looking straight into my eyes, he spoke in a whisper. "Only then they will listen and perhaps act." His voice was stony cold. I fell silent. Our friendly banter of the morning had given way to heated political arguments, and I didn't know what to say to Marcus. The thought which rocked my mind was that Marcus was courting danger at every step, and he knew that only too well. "Very well," Marcus said, after we had had another set of arguments on the issue. "I'm not here to convince you, my friend, let alone induct you in our movement." I looked at him, surprised at his words. "However, if you wish, I could give you an opportunity today. We have a meeting planned in the evening, and I can take you there, using your identity as a journalist from a big city. You can listen to the speeches and understand our cause. See for yourself what we fight for, before you pass judgment." Marcus stopped and looked at me with questioning eyes. "Though I can't guarantee it, but I will do everything to ensure your safety." These last words of Marcus came with a faint smile on his lips. Later that evening, some distance north of Daltonganj, as we drove past the brick kilns and approached the Palamau forest border, Marcus stopped his jeep and beckoned to me as he pointed to a dilapidated building almost hidden from the trees a short distance away. He smiled at me and asked, "Do you recognize the house?" Even in the midst of all the anxiety, I could not hold back my surprise. "Yes, indeed, Dalton Villa," I exclaimed. "This was the house where we used to come for our picnics while in school. We have some great fun memories of the place. I am sure Rishi would recall the house as well. But this was not the time to wallow in those memories." Marcus drove on and into the denser part of the jungle, till there was not even a mud road trail left. Only the lit headlamps of the vehicle cut through the dense leafy darkness, and soon we reached a clearing in the forest. The camp could hardly be seen from a distance. The place was so well camouflaged, only sparingly lit up with fire torches and a few tents propped up. But what caught my attention was the presence of dozens of men and women in dark green attire, with guns in hand and ammunition tied to their waists, patrolling watchfully as if preparing for an impending war. Marcus took me to a small tent nearby, and as I entered, a couple of men with guns in hand stood up with a questioning look. Marcus whispered something to them and indicated to me to sit on a makeshift bed at one side of the tent. "Wait here till I come back for you. Stay silent and don't move out of the tent at all." His instructions were very clear. I assumed that the meetings were underway in the larger tents towards the center of the clearing, and towards those Marcus walked. As I kept waiting, the two men with guns continued to look at me suspiciously from time to time. Their furtive glances, measuring any movement that I made, were making me feel extremely uncomfortable. It was an eerie calm, and the air felt laden heavy with danger. Occasional sounds of cricket coupled with sporadic whispered chants of "Long live Nakshalbari," wafted in from time to time. And then it happened. To know what happened and hear the rest of the story, stay tuned to Story Shutro, The Red Knight Part 2, coming very soon. And before you go, please leave your comments about the story for us, and do like, share and subscribe to Story Shutro, your world of spoken tales. Thank you.